half a minute. Okay. Where is ANA? It's not here. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the September 5 board meeting for the Lancaster County Board. Before we start, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My name is Bill Avery. I am vice chair of this committee, and we are absent. We're missing our chair. He is on his honeymoon, but he did promise to come back. Before we start, I want to introduce some people. On my left here is Deb Shore, a commissioner from Southeast Lincoln. And on my right is Jennifer Brinkman, who is from Northwest Lincoln. And we have with us here from the county attorney's office, David Durbin. From the county clerk's office, Dan Nolte, the county clerk, and his aide, Kelly Lundgren. And on the right over there, sitting all by himself, is Chief Administrative Officer Kerry Egan. Start the agenda, Mr. Clerk.
Copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff at the front of the hearing room. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, August 29th, 2017.
Move approval. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of August 29th. Any discussions, corrections? Call the roll, please.
Brinkman?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Number 2 are claims. Approval of all claims processed through September 5th, 2017.
Move approval of the claims. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the claims through September 5. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next is number 3, a special presentation. This is for Lancaster County Visitors Improvement Fund grant to Friends of the Lead Center for the Performing Arts in an amount of $175,000 for improvements to the Lead Center. Bill Stephen, Executive Director of Lead Center for the Performing Arts.
This is the spot?
This is the spot.
Great.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to appear before you, and thank you so much for your support of the arts and culture and quality of life and bringing guests and tourists to Lancaster County. It really impacts the quality for businesses as well as to bring great things to our community. The Lead Center is one of the top tourist attractions in Lancaster County. It's one of the top 100 theaters in the world, actually, by Pollstar Magazine in terms of the number of tickets annually, and we're proud to be one of the top 100 in the world. We've held that position for several years now. We generated almost $3 million in ticket sales, up from $1.2 million in 2009. We have a pretty big economic impact here in Lancaster County, a $4.2 million economic impact estimated based on 12,000 hotel nights a year. Our request for renovation of the Lead is basically we want to make sure the Lead for future generations and future visitors to Lancaster County is what it is today. You know, when it was built in 1990, you know, it was built one of the greatest performing arts centers in the world, and we want to continue to provide such a gem for the community and a reason for people to come to Lancaster County. We have literally the greatest artists in the world, from Yo-Yo Ma to the top Broadway to theater and dance, and we want to continue to be a venue that artists want to come to, and those artists will bring in tourists from all over the nation. We literally have people from all over the world visit us at the Lead Center. We're home to the International Thespian Festival, as well as a wide variety of other major tourist attractions. we're renovating the seats at the Lead Center, which is a total cost of $362,000. $362,000, and buying new seats would cost $1.5 million. So we're really saving a lot of money by renovating. And we appreciate the county's consideration in taking this action to save us, this money to renovate the seats. And we believe it's a really fiscally responsible way to renovate the Lead and make sure it's a venue for future generations and that will attract people from across the state and the region. We've raised over half of the dollars for this project, so we're not asking for you to pay for the whole thing. The community has invested in it. They believe it's important. They believe it's worth investing in. So I think that's a strong statement when people are willing to put their own personal dollars on the table. I think you can rest assured that the community believes this has value and this is important. And so we're really excited, to be partnering with the county. One thing that some people may not be familiar with is that the Lead Center, over half of the revenue is not ticket sales. Ticket sales just cover less than half of the cost to bring in the greatest artists in the world, from music, theater, and dance. And so lots of people think, all these ticket sale monies, you've got lots of money, you're rolling in the cash. Well, no. It's actually a charitable, we're a nonprofit with nonprofit capital letters. And so any kind of support and grants, it's really worth an investment of that quality of life, and it makes a big difference, along with the private donations and support, which the Nebraska community is extremely generous and finds value in the arts and culture. And we've been really thrilled with the amount of investment that's happened from all sectors of the state of Nebraska. This grant literally will ensure this is an investment that will benefit the community for the next 25 years. So it's a big investment that's going to have lots of dividends for years and years, thousands of visitors, millions of visitors, literally, to Lancaster County. So we really appreciate your consideration of the grant for $175,000. I don't know if you have any questions.
Just asked one.
Sure.
You are able to track your ticket sales, zip code, base of origin, so the numbers that you have are data-based.
Absolutely. Our 30% of, approximately 30% of our patrons come from outside of the Lincoln area, and that's from zip codes. And we track all of those. And so it's amazing. We have people drive hours and hours to shows at the Lead Center from Iowa, outside states. This year we have Misty Copeland, the most celebrated ballerina in the world. She grew up in Kansas City. So we anticipate a lot of people from Kansas City driving up, as well as the St. Louis Symphony, one of the top 10 orchestras in the United States. They don't even have American Ballet Theater performing in their own community. They have to drive to Lincoln to see their orchestra perform with America's Ballet Company. So yeah, we're excited to track those people, and we're excited to have them as our guests and spend their money at hotels and restaurants and in downtown Lincoln.
Will the seat project be done by that time?
The seat project will not be done by Misty Copeland. The seat project will actually be completed next summer, because it takes a while to order all the parts and get all the things done. So come next September, we'll have the seat project completely finished.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Stephen.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, let's move to the correlating item 5A.
This is under new business, Lancaster County Visitors Improvement Fund grant contract in the amount of $175,000 to Friends of the Lead Center for Performing Arts for improvements to Lead Center for Performing Arts. The term of the grant contract is December 1st, 2016 through September 30th, 2018.
Move approval. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve 5A, which is authorization of the expenditure of the $175,000 to the Friends of the Lead. This is a significant grant, and we're proud to do it. Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next is number 4. It's a public hearing. This is for County Special Permit number 16021A, an amendment to County Special Permit 16021 for Hillside Events to amend site-specific condition number 5 to revise the landscape screening at 12,400 West Denton Road, Denton, Nebraska.
I open the hearing, public hearing on County Special Permit 16021A to revise the landscape screening at 12400 West Denton Road. Anyone wish to support this motion?
Do you solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Mr. Chairman, members of the County Board, I'm Mark Hunziker, appearing on behalf of Hillside Event Center. I think you all know why we're here. We have a small glitch in the conditions of approval that were adopted when this special permit was approved. At the time, there was a discussion about screening of the parking lots and the areas outside that are used for performing marriage ceremonies. And everyone, including myself, assumed that we were talking about screening in the ordinary sense that it's applied everywhere in Lincoln and within the county, as far as I'm aware. That is to say that you supply a landscape screen which is measured out based upon mature height and spread of the plant material and or fence or whatever is being used, and it's approved and the plantings are done in accordance with that plan. It was suggested apparently to someone in the county that the condition was not written in a way that was open to that interpretation. It is unique in my experience that anyone would interpret that condition, no matter how it's written, even the way it's written in this situation, as requiring planting materials that would be mature at the date they are planted. But that's the way the county attorney's office chose to interpret it, and that's why we're here. We are here to ask you to amend that condition to adopt a condition that incorporates the city's landscape design standards. For various reasons, the county really doesn't use landscaping very much, doesn't require landscaping I'm not sure of any situations actually, and has no design standards because you just don't use it very often. And ordinarily, when it is used in the county, it has been, at least in my experience, and that's only 40 years, but it's pretty recent anyway, that it is interpreted in the way that the city interprets it, which is in accordance with their design standards. And that's what the amendment would do, and put you or put this permit in a situation where everybody, I think, who has any experience with design standards or screening thought we were. Had I thought that there was any other interpretation being placed on that condition at the time, I would have objected because it would have been a very onerous condition. I do have some photographs of the site. If you want to see them, I will put them on the machine here. There we are. Okay, it's not showing up on here, so I can't really see what I got. First of all, I think it's probably helpful to so you can see it. This is the site plan for the site. The house is located here. The parking area is located here. The barn where the events are held is located here, and outside that area is an area where weddings are performed, and that is right outdoors. This property line here is now completely fenced, so that we were under some time pressure, and the initial privet hedge plantings that were put in there, some of them didn't really survive the grasshoppers this summer very well, and Melissa was unable to locate additional plants of a similar type, and so they just went ahead and put up the fence because we really needed to be sure that we were in compliance with the design or with the landscape plan right away. And as you know, as you probably know, we have a wedding scheduled for September 15th, and all of the inspections have been ongoing and are now completed. We've passed every inspection with building and safety, with the fire marshal, etc. And so now we've got this fence in place to meet that standard along that line. I'll back up to there just for one quick point. The initial landscape screen also showed some screening on this north-south line, but we have made a request to eliminate that from our landscape plan. We talked to the planning department, and they assured us that had we initially submitted it without that being shown, they would have approved it. We have submitted a request to eliminate it, and the reason is, if you're standing right here at the end of the fence and look to the east along that north-south property line which runs along here, there is no view whatsoever to any adjoining homes or other areas that need to be screened. And if you go back to the landscape screen, or to the site plan, I should say, the area where the weddings take place right here really is not adjacent to this property line as the condition would suggest. So we've asked that area be taken out of the screening landscape plan, just to give you some appreciation of the scale of the trees that have been moved. These are along the east side of the south side of the property, on the east and west side of the entrance drive into the property, just to give you an idea of how many trees and how large they are that have been moved in. And these are not all the screening that is required. They are all the screening that is just out at the front property line. There is additional screening back along the edge of the parking lot as well. And so we think we've done a pretty good job here of complying with both the letter and the intent of the screening requirement. And with that, I'm going to stop and ask if you have any questions. I think you're all familiar with this enough to know that the Smiths have been working very hard to get into compliance so that they can start this fall with some weddings.
I think it's important, Mark, to point out that the county did, once this problem was discovered, we did move fairly quickly to get it resolved.
Yes, sir. We have really appreciated all the cooperation we've had, both from the planning department and the county staff, in getting this up on your agenda as quickly as possible.
I just wanted to add the balance there.
No, absolutely, sir. We appreciate it very much.
Any comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak in opposition?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Lawana Petchy. We own the land across the road west of this amusement park. And my question when he was speaking was they did put in a fence on the east side of the property, but does that cover the sewer that they put on the east side of the property? It had been improperly placed on the west side of that barn. Now it has been placed on the east side, right close to the property line. And my question is that covered by that wood fence? Or is the wood fence somewhere else or back further on the property where the sewer is still open to the people that live to the east? Oh, excuse me.
What do you mean by covered?
Covered.
I mean, is there a fence? The sewer is, like here, and then that fence, is it back here? Or does it come past the sewer so that you don't see that on the east side? Naturally,
Does it
you're going
shield,
to-
you mean?
Shield, yes. Naturally, you're going to smell that every time you have an open lagoon. And so those people would definitely be smelling that. And on a good day, we'll probably smell it on the west side too, where our property is. We are working on our homestead. We've had that house and property for 103 years. And we're not real happy to have a lot of entertainment on the weekends when we're trying to move out there and have our own peace and quiet as well. And I know quite a few of the neighbors around are looking for their peace and quiet and had not been originally informed of this whole endeavor.
You have more?
Pardon?
Do you have more? that you would
I'm
like to say?
thinking, since they have paved the road, now we have better access for fire rescue. That was a big concern of mine because I worked on fire and rescue and have seen plenty of accidents on that road. The road has become very, very busy with trucks and cars. It'll be better now that the road 103 is open, but we do have a lot of traffic. And that's going to add to traffic on weekends when they have that, any occasion going on. If things could be quieted down by 10 o'clock, I think that's an option, so that we don't have noise way into the early hours in the morning. But right now, we're talking about fencing, and that, of course, is not something you can fence unless you can turn it down and quiet it down earlier in the evening rather than so late early in the morning. Let's see. What was the other thing I was going to ask? I think that's all.
Any
Questions?
questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Am I supposed to sign this?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't bring a pen. Second.
Could we get somebody from the planning department to address that issue?
No.
Do you solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Tom Chaka, planning staff.
The claim that the noise goes well into the early morning, that's the first
Yeah.
time I've heard that.
I don't know about that. I was gonna wait and speak at the end, but now that I'm up here, I'm gonna clarify, or try to clarify a few things.
Right up there. Thank you.
This amendment is very narrow. We're not talking about the use or other conditions. This amendment is specific to one condition that was put on when this was approved a year ago, and that's dealing with the screening and the landscaping. All the other conditions that were approved a year ago with the resolution, with the special permit, those are all still in effect. So this is just talking about landscaping, nothing else. And it's basically not really amending it, it's more of a clarification. Previously, the special permit was approved, and the condition was that you provide a 60% screen from the ground to 10 feet above the ground, next to the east and south property lines, next to any outdoor area. So what that meant was they had to screen along Denton Road because of the parking, and it was 10 feet tall. I wonder why that don't work. So like Mark had shown, they've planted quite a few trees along here on each side of this driveway to screen the parking area. And then they've now have built a fence along here to screen the outdoor area for the wedding ceremony area. I don't know if this will show up. It's kind of light. Now, when the original special permit came in, they didn't have a landscape plan, and that was the condition we added. So after it was approved, they submitted this landscape plan, and I checked it to see if it met the condition, which it did. So this is where Mark was showing that they had, on their previous plan, showed some landscaping up here. But really, if they would have brought in the landscape plan without that, I would have made a ruling, looked at it and said, yes, that meets the condition. So that's what we were talking about, that they're removing this part up here because your outdoor area is more down here. So I just kind of want to clarify that. Like I said, we're only here to discuss this one condition. All the other stuff had been discussed and went over a year ago. So,
any comments or questions for Tom? Thank you. Any more opposition testimony?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Renee Wolf, and speaking also on behalf of Courtney Wolf. And also, if I can provide another map. Down here at the bottom.
zooms in.
Oh, there. Have to go a little bit. Okay. First of all, would anybody want to buy a property when you first drive in and you see a huge lagoon with a ton of weeds and you see fences up above and you know it's a lagoon? So would you guys like to buy a property in rural county that you see this huge lagoon and weeds and a huge dirt pile with weeds on it? That's what we see every time we drive in. This is West Denton Road. When you drive in, this is the lagoon. Now I've Sunday night measured, and to me, it's 30 feet from our boundary line to the lagoon where the post is. So it should be a setback of 50 feet. Now, this is all slope, so erosion is going to take place. It's already taken place, so it's going to wash out our lane. This here huge dirt pile, I don't know if it's going to be moved, but how do you cover this huge dirt pile? It's less than 30 feet, and there again, we're going to have major erosion. This here is a pond. I don't know what kind of weep, but it could seep, contaminated of 250 wastewater, coming across. What that is, the house is up here, and I'm not sure exactly how many square feet that is, but I'm going to find out. Because I am going to do a survey so we can get this setback and know where exactly things are. Now on the photographs that I have, as you can tell, this is, right here is the lagoon, and you can see all the weeds, you can see the dirt pile. This is such a slope. I got out of my car and took this picture, but I'm standing, this is the rock. But you can see our lane. But you can see the slope and how it comes down. That's one picture. Have to zoom out. I'm taking this inside my car so you get a perspective of how close this lagoon is when people are driving in. Friends, clients, the person that also lives there has a business, a farming business where he trains horses. Clients bring their horses there, they boarder horses as well. This is what they get to see. So as far as, this is all weeds, again, as you can see, the slope is, you know, you can't quite see the slope as what you could see the slope in this other picture. But like the lagoon size for 250 people, you know, I called the Department of Environmental Quality this morning, and they said, well, it's for 4-bedroom, it's 375 gallon. But then you add 75 gallon per person. Well, is this lagoon going to hold that with the erosion side where there, you know, are just slopes, that whole side just slopes down. So that is a huge concern. There again, I want to show you another picture of that you can kind of tell where the, as you can see, the erosion already coming down. This is like going across, this is the boundary line. And you can see from that boundary line how close it is. That lagoon is that close when you drive in. You're going to smell it every single time you drive in. Okay, now we've got fences. Okay, as we've seen the fence before. Okay, this is what the fence looks like. This is the tiny bit of fencing that goes across, and I didn't get, but it doesn't go very far right there. And as you can see, this is all open. There's a vineyard right here. And this is Hillside Events. You can see the building. And for me, the whole line, the east line, should be in a fenced and at least adequate, so you can't see the dirt, you can't see the lagoon. The whole east line should be fenced. And also I've got, just quickly, this is the vineyard, so you can get it in perspective. This is how close the property is. Anybody can trespass and walk down. This is the fence for the horses, starting right there. There again, we have some of the courses, some of the boarding horses, spooked horses that are young. They are dangerous to themselves and to people and to traffic. So there's a huge liability. Zach, he was training at the time on Sunday when I took this picture, so I didn't go in very far. But there he is, training. Now, even with noise level, and I know we talked about the noise issue and stuff, but when you get a bunch of people outside and they're talking, it just sounds like a bird, you know, a ton of birds chirping, what that sounds like, and you put that volume high, it drives you crazy. You have to go inside. You don't even want to be outside. It's not even comfortable listening. They think, oh, the music's going to be pleasant. Well, it's not. It's that huge wide door that's open, that the music comes out, people are on the patio and they're talking. They're talking above everybody else because they're trying to get their point across because the music is loud. So this just sounds like a huge conglomerate of, you know, chirping, and you can't train horses during that time.
Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to end this because you're way over already on your time limit.
Okay, and I got Courtney I'm speaking on behalf of too, but this is the boundary line real quick. And this is what you see when you first drive in. So it's not very pleasant, and it's going to be hard to try to sell property like that. And not to mention the odor when you drive in. Thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak in opposition?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
It is. Good morning, my name is Chet Bennett. I live at 12121 West Denton Road. As you can hear, some of the unintended consequences of a lot of this are reverberating beyond just talking about trees today. But I'll stick with that because as it was brought up by Mr. Chayka, that's what we're talking about. Although I would like to clarify, Mr. Chayka talked about it being a clarification versus amendment. However, in the meeting minutes and agenda, it calls it an amendment. So we're not talking just about a clarification. Because if it was just a clarification, I would ask why at the last meeting when it was brought up by Commissioner Hudkins to specifically clarify what they meant by screening. And you can go back and listen to it. It was at 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 25 seconds where there was specific questions about the screening and about does it cover with 60%? Does it mean you can't see through it? And all of those answered by planning. Mr. Henriksen was correct. You can't see through the 60%. So I don't know what we're trying to clarify here. I appreciate Mr. Hunziker's 40 years of experience. I appreciate that there's multiple levels where maybe there was a failure here. But my question is any time that there was a discussion about lighting ordinance or sound ordinance, it was we don't use those applications out in the county. And now here we're talking about something where there was a provision set, there was opportunity for clarification, maybe there was a lot of missteps along the way, but we left here as people obviously concerned about it with the hope that there's a company now in our residential area, in our agricultural residential area that was approved by y'all, and that's fine, but there were certain provisions. So we left here with the solace that a company that is called Hillside Events, because pictures, let's talk about pictures because there has to be perspective in those pictures. They're on a hill overlooking all of us. All of us. So the light, the noise, everything it goes down. It flows down the hill. And now we're talking about wastewater that's going to also flow down the hill. So for us to think, hey, at least there's going to be, because you guys set the provision, there's going to be some screening in place that hopefully will block some of that noise and hopefully will block some of that sound. Was it perfect? No. But now here we are already making exceptions to the rules a year ago, because that was what happened ultimately, was this special permit and all these special rules that don't really apply but kind of apply, and in the previous case with Avalon or whatever was immediately turned down for a lot of the same reasons why I don't know why this one wasn't turned down, but we're talking about trees. So why is it selective that with noise, with light, with some of these other things where we couldn't apply city conditions because it just wasn't done, and how do we monitor and all these things? Now we're trying to apply it to something that everyone agreed at the time was what the rule was. The last thing I would say in this is let's talk about these trees, because I appreciate the photos of Mrs. Smith standing next to a tree that in the picture was maybe this much taller than her, which alludes that it's pretty tall, but I'm not going to attest to her height, but it's not a perspective, it's not an accurate perspective of a picture. So to sit here and they're going to talk about, well, we planted these trees and they're going to be 8 foot, and they showed you the 10 or 15 or whatever trees in those two pictures where she's standing next to pictures. Now let's have them under oath talk about how many are actually healthy and not dying, because you don't transplant eastern cedars like that. They won't survive if you don't do it right, and I would contend they didn't do it right because they did it themselves. Like also with that, all of the trees that they did plant in accordance with the plan that was approved, if you called Arbor Day right now and got your free 3 trees because you donated, $20 for the year, they're going to mail you little trees in a bag in the mail that have root systems that are like nothing. So yes, they can plant all these trees that theoretically will grow to a certain height at a certain point in time. But in the meantime, as the neighbors, as the people that are living in this agricultural residential community, we have to wait 10 years for a hope that these trees are going to grow to maturity. We have to wait 10 years for a hope that they're not going to dry out because of drought, that they're not going to get flooded, that they're not going to get, as Mr. Hunziker already said, having landscaping and other issues be attacked by grasshoppers. So then every year, if they're having to restart over because of grasshoppers, because of drought, because of whatever, we have to wait for a hope that some tree that a piece of paper says will grow to a certain height might grow that height, it might not. So that's the extent of what I want to talk about as far as trees go today. Was there any other questions? Or?
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else wish to speak in opposition to this amendment? All right, any neutral testimony? Does the Planning Commission wish to make a further statement?
No, but I'll answer any questions you might have.
I do have a question.
Okay.
It might be an issue for Mark. And we're speaking in general of screening, whether it's a fence or landscaping, and screening noise, screening light. Now we're talking about screening the lagoon and the dirt pile. So I guess is the lagoon in the right place, and is there a potential to screen that and as well as the dirt pile?
I think we need to go back and look at what the condition was in the original special permit. And that condition says, owners shall provide a landscape plan that shows a 60% screen from the ground to 10 feet above the ground along the south and east property lines adjacent to any outdoor area or parking lot. Outdoor area meaning outdoor area associated with the events. The outdoor area would be the patio area that they have off the north side of the building, and would be the area of where the wedding ceremonies are. Lagoon, that
Where's the,
wouldn't-
where, the lagoon
they said it was,
along the lane on
I
the
think, over here somewhere.
east side?
We didn't review lagoons. We didn't have anything to do with the lagoon. Lagoons are approved and inspected by the health department. I assume they met all the requirements. As far as the setback issue that was brought up, the setback pertains to buildings, not lagoons. I don't know if health department has a requirement that you have to be a certain distance from a lot line. I don't know about that, but that would not fall under this condition that we're talking about. As far as, I guess when I spoke about clarification and to go back on this condition, really we're talking about one part of this condition. The question came up, do the plants have to be 10 feet tall at the time of planting? That's how this whole thing originated. Based on the way the condition was written, and since we didn't specifically say, basically go by what the City of Lincoln design standards are for screening, it was the county attorney's opinion that, yes, they would have to be 10 feet tall at the time of planting. That was not our intent, planning department's intent when the condition was written. Basically, we'd follow the City of Lincoln design standards that say you have a minimum planting size, and that's what they have to be planted. For the cedar trees, the planting size is 4.5 feet tall to 6 feet tall at the time of planting. I have been out there on site. I have seen the trees. Based on what I've seen, I would say that what they have does meet the condition, the 60% screen. The only difference was that they weren't all, very few of them, I suppose, were 10 feet tall, and that's where that's kind of where this whole question arose from. So that's really it boils down just to that one question. Do they have to be 10 feet tall at the time of planting? Other conditions we put on there, somebody spoke about the lighting. We actually did put in that condition lighting to meet standards per City of Lincoln design standards. I should have wrote that in, made it clear that it was to be in conformance with the design standards, since the county has no design standards and has no landscaping design standards for the county.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Tom. Anyone else wish to speak in a neutral capacity? All right, then we will close the hearing on County Special Permit 16.
Mark wanted to address the question I had.
Do we not get rebuttal?
No, you have only, you gave your testimony. You don't get a second opportunity.
Typically, the applicant does get a chance to rebut.
Let's practice. I'm overruled, Mark. Proceed.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do have just a couple of things to say. As to the lagoon was professionally installed. It was inspected by the health department. It is in compliance with all the county rules. Being under oath, I cannot swear to you that it is more than 30 feet away from that property line, but I'm pretty sure it is. As to the noise, I just a small point, and I know that's not the subject of the hearing, but we do have a requirement in the permit that all activity has to stop by midnight, and the Smiths have written into their contracts now that it all stops by 11 p.m., and there will be no outdoor activities past 10 o'clock. And as to the assertion that this is making an exception to rules, I would suggest to you that it is absolutely the opposite. The county has no rules which require screening and landscaping anywhere, and instead we tried to invent a rule that really didn't exist to impose on this special permit. It was not maybe as artfully done as it might have been, but the intent was that the screening meet city design standards. We're here trying to amend the language which was adopted to comply with what everyone who is familiar with the screening requirements of both the city and the county thought was being imposed. And as to the trees that have been transplanted, those trees were great majority. There were a few of them that were transplanted by Melissa and her husband, but the great majority were done commercially at a cost of a couple $1,000s, and they were transplanted in May of 2016. So we're pretty sure that those that are surviving today will continue to survive. And we think that the landscaping is in compliance with the design standards. I try to answer any questions.
Thank you. Sorry, I tried to cut you
No,
off.
that's okay. Thank you.
I am told no. I heard it from over here. All right, the one wishing to speak. We'll close the hearing on County Special Permit 16021A. And we will, Mr. Clerk, proceed to the correlating item 5B.
This is under new business 5B is a resolution in the matter of County Special Permit number 16021A, an amendment to County Special Permit number 16021 for hillside events to amend site-specific condition number 5 to revise the landscape screening on property generally located at 12,400 West Denton Road, Lancaster County, Nebraska.
Move approval.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we approve the resolution involving special permit number 16021A. Any discussion? What do you got there?
Dave Durbin, Deputy County Attorney, Lancaster County Attorney's Office. So there's been just some discussion about the lagoon and whether that would fall within the outdoor area. If it is the intent of the board not to include that in the outdoor area, I would ask that the board approve the resolution with an amendment that outdoor area does not include the lagoon for screening purposes. We just don't want to be back here talking about this in a few months if someone asks whether it was the intent of the board to screen the lagoon or not to screen the lagoon. This is the first time this has really come up, was today.
I have a motion.
We don't screen lagoons anywhere else in the county, do we?
Tom? the way this is written, it says any outdoor area used for the business. And again, this is broad language. I want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're doing today so that we don't have to come back for another clarification in the future.
So the lagoon, is it part of the business?
Well, some of the lagoon is being used for the business. I mean, I think that's undeniable. They had to go and get it improved and install some drainage for the event site. So if it is the intent not to screen the lagoon area, and Tom could answer whether we normally screen a lagoon area or not, and he's shaking his head no. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're doing today so again, we don't have to come back and have this discussion about what includes the outdoor area used for business purposes.
Would you suggest proper wording to achieve what you want to do?
Sure, Commissioner. Right now, I think it would be easy enough to say outdoor area will not include the lagoon.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, or as an amendment to my original motion.
I will concur. I'm not an expert in lagoons. What is the normal vegetation you see around a lagoon? Is it weeds? I mean, what is it supposed to be? What is it normally? I mean, there was a complaint about weeds around a lagoon. I know you have to have filtration, but
obviously, the vegetation around lagoons would not be my expertise.
Either.
And lagoons are not your expertise either, right?
Sir.
Did you second the amendment?
I did. Melissa, would it be possible to mow the lagoon area? Okay, thank you.
All right, let's vote on that amendment.
It was a friendly amendment. Do we need two? Oh, you're right. Okay.
Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes. Now, we go back to the resolution as amended. Any further discussion?
Well, I think I just want to say that I wasn't here when we originally adopted the special permit, but it's clear from the record that this is going to continue to be a contentious use in this area. The neighbors have a lot of frustration and fear about how this operation is going to go and how it's going to affect the life that they anticipated living on their property. And so I think members of this board have said this before, people are watching. And I expect that the operators will keep that in mind as they operate the business. But I am aware that the resolution today is a very limited use, a clarification or amendment. And I do think that when we are going to utilize rules to try and affect these kinds of uses in the county where there usually are none, that this is a good compromise, and that it makes common sense to only require that the landscaping be at the height of maturity instead of when planted. So that's why I'm going to vote for the resolution.
I just might add that we're always asked on this board to balance interest. That's what we're trying to do here today. We don't want to discourage or shut down economic development in the rural areas of this county. And this is not a new issue for us. In fact, this specific issue is not new to us. So I hope you all understand that we are not simply jumping to a conclusion to support one side or the other. We have dealt with this quite a number of times over the last year, and we do think it's important to take into account the views of people who live in the area as well as the owners of the property. I will vote to approve.
If I could just use another example, the next item on the agenda is for an outdoor country music concert, and another example of that constant balance of use of private property and supporting local businesses and endeavors. So.
Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next is 5C. There's a special designated license application from Farm for Life, Inc. for the Luke Bryan Farm Tour Concert at 701 Southwest 63rd Street, Lincoln, on September 28th, 2017.
Good morning. How are you? Morning. My name's Steve Money. I'm the attorney for Farm for Life. And we are here on a SDL a license application for the concert for the 28th of this month. I have filed all the proper applications, I guess, and I've looked at the recommendations. This has been a long time logistical process. All I do is alcohol licensing. We've had people here for 6 months now that have gone out and do site planning and those types of things, and I was told to be here. I've looked at the recommendations, and I don't really see a whole lot, but I would like to ask something of the commission while we're here. There's a provision in we are a nonprofit as far as alcohol providing is concerned. I don't work for Luke Bryan. We provide the alcohol services for him. So there's a provision in the nonprofit, in the state law, that says for nonprofits, there's got to be double fencing around the venue. Now, my understanding of this is that it's to keep people from passing drinks from inside to outside. I would like to, I'm not sure that it even needs your approval, but I'd like to get pre-approval so I would not have to come back later on. And if I could, see if I can expand this out. I'm not very, oh, that's brightness. Where's Zoom? Here we go. This is the venue. First of all, is everybody familiar with the location? It's in, okay, of where we're talking about. And this is why, this is the venue. If I can kind of show you what, the reason we're asking for a waiver of this double fencing. If you can see this area right here, this whole venue right here is fenced. It's 550 feet by 610 feet, 6 foot tall chain link type fencing. This area right here is where people come in and out. It's the only area that's not blocked by vendors or security or some other area. We have we're employing over 150 security personnel for this event. You'll see all these little trailers right here are vendors or food vendors and merchandise vendors and things like that. This compound right here is actually backstage. There's no access there. So this is where people are coming in and out, probably the highest concentration of security personnel also. So there's not, our contention is that if we double fence this thing, we're going to be in a safety issue, number one, in case we have to get people out in a hurry. And also, there's really no need for it because there's not access for the public to go pass drinks through this area here. This is the only area coming in and out, and people are going to be coming in, and there's going to be no readmission. So that's my request, a pre-request, I guess I might say.
Well, we're going to have to get the county attorney's opinion on this because this would involve bypassing our process.
Dave Durbin, Deputy County Attorney, Lancaster County Attorney's Office. As this board knows, our action here today is merely a recommendation. If you feel that the waiver that Farm for Life is asking for is appropriate, it's already contained in their application. If we recommend approval, I think it's implied that we're recommending approval as the application is written. So
double fencing, or with single fencing?
Right, they have a waiver included in their application.
We filed a waiver with the state.
Okay, got it.
I don't think there's anything additional or unusual that this board would have to do.
Okay.
All I'm asking is that if the state says, well, did the county say it was okay? I want to be able to say, yes, I've already told them about that. Because they may not grant it, but I'm just asking for pre-approval from you guys if possible.
Thank you. Did you sign in, by the way?
I did.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I was just going to ask a question.
Oh.
Terry, do you have any concerns about the lack of the double fencing? And I guess as he's coming up on our regular for-profit applications, does it require single or double fencing, or is that at the state level as well?
I think it's the state level and it requires single fencing. And the issue is they said my fencing could be, it could be a orange construction fence if need be. So I'm thinking that it's kind of like.
It's more for a street dance type.
Correct.
Okay.
That, I was going to make that same analogy. Terry Wagner, Lancaster County Sheriff, like for some of the village dances, the local VFW or one of the other nonprofits will get the SDL, and so the double fencing in those kinds of environments are pretty necessary in the towns to prevent. And it's not a very big area. Waverly, same way with the JCs when they do the their 4th of July event. This is such a huge open area, it really is much different than the urban environment, not urban, but village environment you might see in some street dances. So I don't see a concern at all with not having a double fence here.
Okay. I will move approval of the SDL, noting that the single request waiver.
Second.
Single fence request waiver.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the special designated license application for Farm for Life for the Luke Bryan Farm Tour. And the amendment, that wasn't an amendment, was it?
The waiver's included in the
Right,
application.
okay, right. So it has been moved and seconded that we approve this. Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys very much.
D is a federal equitable sharing agreement and annual certification report for the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office regarding equitable sharing activity of drug forfeiture funds for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
Terry Wagner, Lancaster County Sheriff. The equitable sharing agreement is for our activities for the previous year. This is an annual thing that is a report to the Department of Justice on our equitable sharing seizures and expenditures, and so it happens every year. So the report just requires. I was a little confused because it said Todd's signatures on file electronically, but we need your approval to submit that form with electronic signature.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Federal Equitable Sharing Agreement and Annual Certification Report for the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 5E is acquisition contract between the State of Nebraska Department of Transportation and Lancaster County for the acquisition of additional right-of-way for U.S. Highway 6 by the state from a portion of property owned by the county. The state will pay the county the sum of $320 for the property as legally described in the acquisition contract, and the county shall convey title to the property to the state by quitclaim deed.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the acquisition contract between the State of Nebraska and the Lancaster County for the acquisition of additional right-of-way on Highway 6. Any discussion? No. Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. F is a Medicare enrollment application for clinics and group practices for revalidation of the Lancaster County Community Mental Health Center's enrollment information.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Medicare enrollment application for clinics and group practices for revalidation of the Lancaster County Community Mental Health Center's enrollment information. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. G is a recommendation from purchasing and Lancaster County Records Management to award a purchase order for maintenance agreement to Kodak Alaris. The total amount of the yearly agreement is $10,047.55.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the recommendation from purchasing and Lancaster County Records Management to award a purchase order for a maintenance agreement to Kodak Alaris. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. H is an amendment to County Contract C-16-78 with Language Line Services, Inc., using the State of Nebraska contract number 4886004 for phone and video language interpretation services. The amendment renews the contract from August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2018. The estimated cost of the county is not to exceed $500.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the amendment to County Contract C-16-78 with Language Line Services Incorporated. This is for phone and video language interpretation services. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 5I is an amendment to County Contract C-16-9 with Envirotech Services, Inc., using the State of Nebraska contract number 14318OC for anti-ICER de-ICER solution. The amendment extends the contract from August 26, 2017 through May 25, 2018. The estimated cost of the county is not to exceed $12,000.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the amendment to County Contract C-16-9 with Envirotech Services, Inc. For the purpose of purchasing anti-ICER and de-ICER solution. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. J are contracts with the following medical providers for specialized medical care of general assistance clients. Providers will be reimbursed at the Medicaid rate. And this includes Central Nebraska Rehabilitation Service, Head and Neck Surgical Partners, LLC, doing business as Physician Surgical Center, Gynecology and Fertility PC, Women's Clinic of Lincoln.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve 4 contracts for medical providers for specialized care of general assistance clients. Any more discussion? Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 5K is acceptance of Power Hour Grant Award 17JS 413 for the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice in the amount of $7,500.
Good morning, Sarah Hoyle with Lincoln Lancaster Human Services. This is a state competitive grant awarded through the Crime Commission with state dollars. The funding amount in the amount of $3,750 comes directly from Boys and Girls Club. Andy Larson was here. He's the interim director. He was here a couple weeks ago and shared a lot of information on this program. So this is the funding award for that.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the Power Hour Grant Award 17-JS-0413 from the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice. Any more discussion?
I have a question. You just referenced $3,750. That's our match, and then the state is $7,500. So are we accepting the $7,500 in this contract?
We're accepting the $7,500, the grant match and this is basically a pass-through grant from the Crime Commission through our office to Boys and Girls Club at Park Middle School. So they are awarded the $7,500, but they have to produce that $3,750 match in order to receive it.
This item goes with item N.
With that contract, yes.
Yes. Pass through. We receive.
We give it to them,
Yeah.
exactly.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I think we already had a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Trying to.
And they match up. It was the same person making the motion, so.
Okay. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. L is acceptance of the Restore Grant Award 17JS-425 for the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice in the amount of $51,000.
And this is state funding, again, awarded through the Crime Commission. It's a competitive grant. Most of it is found in the personnel category. It funds one of the caseworkers for this program that's located in my office. It also has a $5,000 line item in there for an evaluation component that Bruce Prenda with the County Attorney's Office will be talking about later on in item number P. The match for this is $5,761. This comes from in-kind. It's already being allocated through county funding for the Juvenile Justice Coordinator's time spent overseeing this project.
Move approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the acceptance of the Restore Grant Award 17-JS-0425 from the Nebraska Crime Commission and Criminal Justice in the amount of $51,000. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. M is acceptance of the ACCCS Serving Refugee and Other Immigrant Youth Grant Award 17-JS-428 from the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice in the amount of $56,316.
And this is, again, competitive state funding awarded through the Crime Commission. The match for this is $25,314, all coming directly from the Asian Center. And Sheila, the director of the Asian Center, is here to talk about the correlating contract with this in item number O. And here's Sheila, the director.
Yes, hello. We have the youth program at the Asian Center that serves all immigrant and refugee youth. With this award, we're able to serve 60 youth with case management services. That means that we go directly to high schools. Right now, it's the Lincoln High and North Star High Schools, where they meet them after school and they work on homework and college applications and just giving them good, solid advice on what they can do in the next steps in planning ahead. But they also have weekend programs where they have a young men's leadership council where they're developing their leadership skills, and a young women's leadership council as well. So do you want me to speak about anything in specific about those things? Okay. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Got to make sure you sign in.
Yes.
And you said 60 youth were involved in the program? 60?
At least 60,
okay.
Yes. Yep. And that's with case management. We probably will reach more than 60 outside of the case management services.
Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second?
Been moved and seconded that we approve acceptance of the ACCC Serving Refugee and Other Immigrant Youth Grant Award number 17-JS-0428.
Thank you.
Discussion recently. Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 5N is a grant contract with Boys and Girls Club of Lincoln, Lancaster County in the amount of $7,500 for the Power Hour program through the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice Juvenile Services Grant. Term of the grant contract is July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Move approval?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the grant contract with Boys and Girls Club of Lincoln, Lancaster County in the amount of $7,500 for the Power Hour program through the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. O is a grant contract with the Asian Community and Cultural Center in the amount of $56,316 for the Serving Refugee and Other Immigrant Youth Program through the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice Services Grant. Term of the grant contract is July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the grant contract with the Asian Community and Cultural Center in the amount of $56,316 for the Serving Refugee and Other Immigrant Youth Programs through the State Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. P is a grant contract with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Center on Children, Families, and Law in the amount of $5,000 for the evaluation of the Restore grant. Term of the contract is July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Good morning. Bruce Prenda with the County Attorney's Office, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a statistical overview of the Restore program. The university did conduct a study in July, and the study essentially gave us about a year and a half excuse me, worth of statistics for Restore. As you know, Restore is the in-school based program that we have in cooperation with the Lincoln Public Schools, where kids who engage in assaultive behavior or disturbances in school are given an opportunity to resolve that without further involvement in the juvenile justice system. Restore also came about as an effort to address racial and ethnic disparities in the juvenile justice system. And it involves students from ages 12 to 15 who are eligible. In the year and a half, we had 140 students referred as potentially eligible to participate. 77 ended up participating in the program, and those referrals were made from the school to our office and then back to Human Services for involvement in the program. And those referrals were met, 99% of those referrals, the students were contacted within 7 days. And 37% were contacted the same day for involvement in Restore. So that's part of the effort to address the behavior immediately as being more effective. 75% were non-recidivism rate for participants in the program. And 92% successfully completed the program within 49 days. And that's significant because the standard essentially is 60 days, and so we're below that standard. The national diversion success rate is for non-recidivism is 69%, so we're at 75%, which is something that's really worth noting. On the issue of racial and ethnic disparity specifically, with only a year and a half having been evaluated and examined by the university, that's probably not enough time to really get a good sense of whether we're having as much of an effect as we'd like to have in that area. So this grant will allow the university to continue the study of the program. We're also going to be expanding the program from assaultive and disturbing behavior in school to a separate in-school program relating to marijuana and alcohol. And so we'll be wanting to combine those efforts with the university and get some study on those to see whether we're having a success in school and avoiding students from coming into the juvenile justice system. So that's essentially an overview of the program. We'd appreciate the funding of that.
Thank you.
A question, you mentioned 140 participated in the program. What do you expect in the coming year, and knowing that you're moving into the areas of alcohol and use of marijuana, how will that affect the numbers?
It'll include more students, for sure. The 140 refers to kids who are eligible. So a fight occurs at school, they are referred to our office. Within that 24-hour period, we review that for eligibility. Reasons that they would not be eligible might include they're already involved in the juvenile justice system. Maybe they're on probation already, so they would not be eligible. If it involves some kind of gang conflict, that would not be eligible. Weapons being involved would not be eligible. So of the 140, 77 were eligible to participate in the program. With the addition of drug and alcohol type offenses, that number will necessarily go up. We've done some tweaking of the program over the years. When it started, it was ages 14 and 15. It wasn't capturing the students that we thought it was going to capture. We expanded the age from 12 to 15. We may be revisiting that to see whether or not it should be lowered or increased. It includes all of the schools. It's unlike some of the other programs we have where some schools are involved and some schools are not. This is a LPS-wide effort, so all schools are eligible.
I just had two questions. One, when you talk about the recidivism rate, is it just over that 1.5 year period? How long are you tracking them to decide that they are non-recidivism?
It's just over that period of time that we have up to July of 2017.
Okay.
So increasing the time that we'll be studying it will also affect our base for whether we're keeping kids from recidivating and keeping them out of the system.
And with regard to the substance use related issues, are you talking about possession and under the influence and the whole gamut?
It's limited to marijuana and small quantities. It wouldn't be dealer amounts, and it's not controlled substances. And with respect to alcohol, it's any alcohol in possession or in consumption, because the law allows for contact by law enforcement. If a student has consumed alcohol, they're deemed to be in possession of it. That's not true for marijuana, so they would have to be in possession of a physical quantity of marijuana to be eligible for the program. Okay. Suspensions for coming back to school smelling like marijuana wouldn't include them in this program.
Okay, thank you.
What about small amounts of marijuana, say residue?
That would be eligible.
It would.
And paraphernalia, for example, backpacks that they have pipes. The nice thing about, or one of the goals of the drug program, is to reduce the length of suspension. Right now, if they're caught with paraphernalia, alcohol, marijuana, it's a 5-day suspension automatically. What we hope to do with that program is to reduce that suspension to a day or 2 days, and then have them back in school, participating in school, while they're also doing some things like viewing the educational material that we do with our diversion program in school. So it's kind of an in-school suspension, and they can get back to going to classes sooner.
You may have covered this, and I might have missed it, but how many years now? 2 years, you said?
This study only covered about 1.5 years.
1.5 years, okay. You think you've got enough data there to really learn anything? 1.5 years?
I don't think that it's a sufficient amount, but it was a sufficient amount for the university to initiate their study and to produce some data to give us some information about the program. But in my personal opinion, I think we need to go a little bit farther and then dig a little bit deeper, especially on the issue of minority involvement in the program and the reasons why, of the 140, 77 participants, what were the reasons that that balance was ineligible, and how did that affect minority students, whether we're making more minority students ineligible or eligible. Those are, I think, deeper questions that this data didn't, in my opinion, get to in a comprehensive way.
Does this mean we'll see you again next year?
Yes, hopefully.
And I want to add, too, one of the things Bruce didn't mention was the Georgetown University has a lot of interest in this project. They've helped us get it started, but now they've come back to us and want to partner with us. The main reason being in that across the United States, a lot of county attorneys' offices aren't willing to make that connection with the school and really address the school-to-prison pipeline in the manner in which our county attorney's office has. So, I mean, I want to commend Bruce today for believing in the schools, for believing in the process, and to really making an effort that's being recognized at the national level. So.
And we have good school administration too, so.
Do we have a motion?
Thank
We
you.
don't.
We don't have a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the grant contract with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, the Center on Children, Families, and the Law, in the amount of $5,000 for the evaluation of the Restore Grant number 17-JS-425. Any more discussion? Call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Q is a grant contract with Salvation Army in the amount of $31,040 for the Sudanese Advocacy Program. The contract is funded with juvenile justice prevention funds for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Good morning, Sarah Hoyle again with Lincoln Lancaster Human Services. Today for this contract, we have Johannes, who is our Sudanese advocate, and then I also had asked Major Jim Anderson to come from the Salvation Army.
Mark.
Mark Anderson from the Salvation Army. He is the new major. I'm not sure that the board had an opportunity to meet him yet, so I wanted to make sure that you received a welcome from our county and then a thank you of appreciation for leading these efforts. So, welcome.
Just take a moment. I really have found Lancaster County and Lincoln a beautiful place in my 12 weeks of residency. And I really thank the board for their support of the Salvation Army. I see across our city the needs. They're coming through the door. I was met this morning with about 300 individuals waiting to collect up some produce and food items at the Salvation Army. To do that a couple times a week. And as we look at that line, we see also those really unspoken needs, those individuals. And so we really want to thank the county for not only supporting the Army, but supporting the nonprofits across Lancaster County the way you do, really stepping forward for those who just need a little extra help. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Welcome to Lincoln. Would you please sign in?
Oh, I certainly will.
Johannes, would you like to tell us anything specific about the program?
Yes, my name is Johannes, Sudanese Advocates. I'm going to tell a little bit about our program. So in our program, we serve over 40 youth. And most of the youth were referred from Lancaster County Attorney Office. And for the last 2 years, I have seen a positive change. We work with different institutions, LPS, Lincoln Police Department, for the improvement of Sudanese youth. We have many of them in juvenile, but when we visited them, they doing well, and some of them being dismissed from juvenile. And I have checked their grades from Lincoln Public School, and those who were in juveniles, they improving their grades, which is a positive change. We have many programs about the summer. We have summer day camp. We involve them in the summer day camp with our different program in the Salvation Army. And also, we open a Sudanese language program over the summer, try to keep them busy before the school year. And also, we do have a parenting meetings once a month. We call all the parents, their children were involved in the juvenile, and we invite guest speaker from LPS, Lincoln Police Department. We discuss a lot of issues, how they can improve their children, because many Sudanese, they work overnight, sometimes weekend, they don't have more time with their kids, how they can balance their time so that they can have more time with the kids. And we discuss those issues during the parenting meetings, and that's it pretty much.
Thank you, sir. Would you please sign in as well?
Yes.
I'll move approval of the grant contract.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the grant contract with the Salvation Army in the amount of $31,040 for the Sudanese Advocacy Program. Any more discussion? Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 5R is a grant contract with the Guidance to Success in the amount of $30,700 for the Youth Club. The contract is funded by the Nebraska Crime Commission, grant number 16-CB-523.
Okay, and Angela Stabler is here to talk about that. This particular grant contract, the term is a little bit different, and we're approving it, I know, after the contract ended. This is part of those community aid dollars that we had to close the grant on June 30th. We, in the past, had been able to extend it. This year, they said they were not allowing extensions, so we reached out to all of our community partners to see if they had any expenses that were not covered. And Angelo had a couple, so that's why this contract term looks a little bit different in this one. So,
how you guys doing this morning? Good seeing you guys again. Again, my name is Angelo Stabler. I'm the executive director and founder of Guidance Success Youth Club. With this funds and stuff, it gives us the opportunity to continue doing our work in the community, continue giving these kids an outlet, opportunity to challenge them, and an opportunity to really just keep them on the right road to success through fitness, through life skills, through educational support, through tutoring, mentoring, checking out their grades, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do in the classroom, and also providing mental health services for them, individual, family, group therapy with them also too. We do a lot of our stuff outside of things. We're kind of in a situation with Abbott right now, so we're trying to figure that stuff out. We do a lot of stuff out in Nebraska Westland. So we just work with a lot of youth here in Lincoln to provide opportunity for them to help them reach their full potential in life, school, and sports.
About how many youth are you serving?
To about 250 through basketball, through our educational support, through counseling. So a wide range of support we provide to the youth.
Move approval?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the grant contract with Guidance to Success in the amount of $30,700 for the Youth Club.
Thank you.
I had a question before we vote. Do you have your own facilities, like your own basketball facilities and things of that sort?
No, we don't. That's kind of where we're at right now, reestablishing ourselves. We're going to have, here in the next year or so, we're going to have a big push, a big campaign to get our own facility. What that's going to look like, I don't know, but we've been in a process of talking to people, having those conversations. So hopefully in the next year or whatnot, that we hopefully in the next year or two we'll have our own facility where we can house these kids every single day and try to provide services on the weekends too, because a lot of the services here in Lincoln don't have weekend services. I grew up here in Lincoln. I'm a Lincolnite, so I know what these streets can do to these kids. So hopefully down the road we can provide access to our facility 24/7.
Good luck. Any comments? Thank you, sir.
Move approval. Oh, we already.
No, we already have a motion. Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Brinkman.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. S is a grant contract with Guidance to Success in the amount of $13,260 for the youth programs. The contract is funded by Juvenile Justice Prevention Funds.
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the grant contract with Guidance to Success in the amount of $13,260 for the youth programs. That's your group.
Yes.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Shore.
Yes.
Brinkman.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion carries 3-0. Number 6 are consent items. Utility permit number 1583, allowing Windstream Nebraska Inc. to install new buried cable adjacent to North 148th Street to clear conflicts with box culvert H130. Construction, there is no cost to the county. Receive and place on file the following reports: County Clerk's Office for August 2017, County Sheriff's Office for July 2017. Setting a public hearing on Tuesday, September 26, 2017 at 4 p.m. in room 112 of the County City Building regarding the Board of Equalization property evaluation protest process.
Move approval of the consent items.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent items. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Number 7 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business, non-agenda may do so at this time.
No one wishing to speak. We will move on to the next item.
Next is number 8, announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a meeting on Thursday, September 7th, 2017 at 8:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building regarding the Lancaster County budget for fiscal year 2017-2018. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, September 7th, 2017 at 9 a.m. in the Bill Luxford studio at the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold their next regular meeting on Tuesday, September 12th, 2017 at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building with the Board of Equalization immediately following. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on Link TV City. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on Link TV and can be viewed on YouTube.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.